Welcome back to the Daily Economy 24/7. Today, we're kicking off something special. Something big. This is part 1 of our brand new 3-part series called The Automation Age, a deep dive into how artificial intelligence is reshaping the workplace, not in the distant future, but right now, in real time, all around us. If you're new to the show, welcome to the community. You're joining thousands of listeners who come here for clarity, depth, and honest conversation about the world we're living in. And if you've been with us for a while, thank you for being part of this growing family. Your support, your comments, your engagement, they're the heartbeat of this channel. Today's episode is all about the quiet revolution happening inside our jobs. Not the flashy headlines, not the sci-fi predictions, but the subtle, invisible shift that's already changing how millions of people work every single day. So settle in. Take a breath. And let's step into the automation age together. Imagine a worker, let's call her Elena. She's been in her role for 8 years. She's good at what she does. Reliable. Sharp. The kind of teammate who remembers the things other people forget. The person you go to when you're stuck. Her job used to be simple, or at least understandable. She answered emails, prepared reports, coordinated schedules, managed clients, followed up, smoothed things over. She was, in a sense, the human glue between different parts of the company. And then, slowly, everything around her began to change. First, her company rolled out a smart assistant to help with scheduling. Nobody was worried about it. In fact, most people were relieved. Suddenly, instead of endless back and forth emails, does Tuesday work? No, how about Thursday? Meetings just appeared on calendars. The AI handled it. It was convenient, clean, efficient. Then a new email feature appeared. It suggested replies. At first, they were simple, thank you. Sounds good. Let's do it. But over time, those suggestions became more sophisticated. Full sentences. Full paragraphs. Sometimes entire responses drafted before Elena even finished reading the incoming email. Then came AI meeting notes. Elena no longer had to take minutes or capture action items. The system recorded the call, transcribed it, and automatically pulled out decisions, tasks, and owners. It wasn't perfect, but it was good enough. And for busy teams, good enough became standard. After that, the reports she used to build every week, manually, carefully, started coming pre-assembled. The data was still real. The charts were still real. The insights were still real. But the first drafts weren't hers anymore. An AI system pulled metrics, compared them to last week, highlighted anomalies, even suggested a key takeaways section. Then the company introduced an AI chatbot on their website. It handled basic customer questions, product details, account issues. Over time, fewer and fewer calls made it to Elena's desk. The AI was answering things she used to answer. It was deflecting what used to be her work. None of these changes felt like a revolution. Each one was framed the same way: this will save you time. This will make your job easier. This will help you focus on what matters most. But slowly, quietly, the core of her day changed. The inbox she once curated became a filtered stream of only the complex issues. The reports she once built were now things she revised. The meetings she once documented were now automatically summarized. The customers she once spoke to were now mostly handled before they reached her. And one afternoon, staring at her screen, Elena realized something. I'm not really doing the same job anymore. I'm sitting in the same chair, using the same tools, talking to the same people. But the job itself has changed. She hadn't been replaced, but she had been rewritten. That's how the AI shift entered the workplace, not as a wave that washed people away, but as a tide that slowly moved the shoreline. We like to imagine big changes as big moments. The first smartphone. The first car. The first airplane. The first computer. One day nothing, the next day everything. But AI at work didn't arrive that way. It wasn't one invention, one app, one platform. It arrived in layers, in little tools, incremental updates, beta features, pilot programs. It's what you might call micro-automation. Micro-automation is the automation you don't think about. It's the autocomplete suggestion. The pre-filled field. The click to summarize. The suggest a response button. It's the spell check that quietly fixes your typo without making a big deal about it. On its own, each micro-automation looks trivial. Autocorrect? Cute. Draft email suggestions. Helpful. Calendar assistant. Nice to have. Transcription. Convenient. Template generator. Time saving. But stack them together, and something deeper happens. A job that once consisted of 40 different tasks now has 22. A process that used to take an hour now takes 15 minutes. A team that needed 5 people now needs 3 and some air help. This is the difference between task automation and job automation. When people hear AI is going to automate jobs, they picture an entire role disappearing overnight. One day you're employed, the next day a robot rolls into your office and takes your badge. But that's almost never how it happens. Instead, tasks disappear. Hundreds of them. Thousands of them. And jobs don't vanish. They thin out. They become more about oversight, exception handling, relationship management, creative problem solving, the things that don't yet fit neatly into a model. You still have the title. You still sit at the desk. You still join the Zoom calls. But the composition of your work has changed. The revolution isn't that AI replaces people. The revolution is that AI erodes the edges of what people do. Let's pull back and look at this shift through the lens of data. By the mid-2020s, surveys of businesses were quietly painting a clear picture. A large share of companies reported using AI for customer service triage, fraud detection, logistics optimization, document processing, marketing copy, HR screening, analytics and reporting. But when workers were surveyed, many of them reported that they didn't use AI at all. How do you reconcile that? Simple, the AI was embedded. It wasn't a product you logged into. It was a feature inside the software you were already using. Your CRM got better at predicting which leads would close. Your email client got smarter about filtering out noise. Your workplace chat app magically summarized long threads. Your project management tool started recommending who should be assigned to which task. No one held a press conference about it. No one rolled out a training series called You Now Use AI. It just appeared. This is one of the reasons many people underestimate how far along this shift already is. Because when we picture using AI, we imagine some futuristic interface with glowing holograms and complex dashboards. In reality, most AI at work feels like software just getting slightly better every few months. Which means, by the time most workers realized AI was doing part of their job, AI had already been doing part of their job for quite a while. The next question is obvious: why did companies say yes to all of this so quickly? Why not wait? Why not move slower? Why not resist? To answer that, you have to look at the economic pressure cooker of the 2020s. Labor costs went up. Turnover went up. Hiring got harder. Customers expected faster responses, more personalization, better experiences. Margins were squeezed. Shareholders were impatient. Competitors were ruthless. At the same time, software vendors started showing up with demos. Watch this: our tool can cut your reporting time in half. Our AI assistant can reduce your support volume by 30%. Our document automation can save your legal team 10 hours a week. Our analytics engine can spot issues before your humans even see them. If you're a decision maker under pressure, what do you do with that? Do you say, "No, we'd rather stay inefficient to protect the old way of doing things"? Or do you say, "Let's try it in one department and see what happens"? Most companies chose the second option. Then they saw the numbers. Then they scaled it. This wasn't a philosophical decision, it was a survival one. AI became the quiet answer to a loud question: how do we do more with less? Let's go back to Elena, because her story is where your listener connects. Before AI, a typical day for her might have looked like this: 60 to 70% reactive work, answering emails, handling requests, responding to clients. 20 to 30% proactive work, planning, analyzing, improving processes. 10% administrative noise, scheduling, note-taking, status updates. After AI seeped into her workflows, that ratio shifted. The administrative noise nearly vanished. Scheduling was automated. Note-taking was automated. Status reporting was mostly generated. Her inbox changed too. Instead of 100 emails, she saw 35, the complex ones the AI couldn't handle. Her day became more about exceptions, escalations, nuance, relationship management, judgment calls. On paper, that sounds like an upgrade. Less drudgery. More high-value work. But here's the twist: the work became more cognitively intense. There was less warm-up, less ramp-up, fewer easy wins. Every task felt important. Every conversation felt heavier. Every decision felt like it carried more weight. AI removed the busy work, but it also removed the breathing room. So yes, Elena's job became more strategic. But it also became more exhausting. This is one of the under-discussed costs of automation: not just fewer tasks, but more pressure inside the ones that remain. Work isn't just what we do. It's a big part of who we are. When someone asks, "What do you do?" you don't answer with a list of tasks. You give them a title. I'm a teacher. I'm an engineer. I'm a nurse. I'm a manager. I'm a designer. I'm an analyst. But underneath that title is a set of activities, things you actually do in a day that make you feel like that title is true. For Elena, part of her identity was, I'm the one who knows what's going on. I'm the one people come to for answers. I'm the one who keeps clients happy. I'm the one who keeps this team organized. When AI started handling scheduling, drafting, summarizing, recommending, she didn't lose her job. But she did lose chunks of the activities that had reinforced her identity. And that creates a strange, disorienting feeling. You still have the title. You still collect the paycheck. You still log in every morning. But you're not entirely sure what makes you valuable now. That's the identity shock of AI at work. Not the pink slip. The quiet question, what am I here for now? As this shift accelerated, workers across industries started asking the same kinds of questions, even if they didn't always say them out loud. Where do I fit when the lower level work gets automated? Is AI my assistant? Or my replacement in slow motion? If AI does the rough draft, and I fix it, am I still the expert? What skills actually matter now, the ones I was hired for, or the ones no one told me I'd need? Is learning how to use AI a bonus? Or a requirement? These questions don't show up in job descriptions. But they show up in late-night thoughts. They show up in quiet conversations between co-workers. They show up in the way people respond to new tools: excitement, resistance, indifference, curiosity, fear. This is the emotional fabric of the automation age. Let's walk more slowly through different sectors and really feel how this plays out. In customer service, AI now handles FAQs, account lookups, simple troubleshooting, even some billing issues. Agents mostly see the escalations, angry customers, complex problems, edge cases. So instead of taking 20 easy calls and 5 hard ones, they take 25 hard ones. Same volume. Different emotional load. In finance, AI scans transactions, flags suspicious activity, compiles reports, and generates summaries. Analysts spend more time interpreting models than building them. Some love it, some feel like they're losing the craft they were proud of. In healthcare, doctors use AI tools to draft notes, suggest diagnoses, and identify patterns in imaging. It saves time. But it also introduces a new responsibility: double-checking the machine. The doctor is still in charge, but the workflow has changed. They're not starting from a blank page. They're reacting to a suggestion. In logistics, dispatchers used to manually assign drivers, routes, and loads. Now AI does 80% of the planning. The dispatcher steps in only when something goes wrong, or when the human touch is needed. In education, teachers use AI to generate quizzes, lesson plans, and feedback. The promise is more time to connect with students. The challenge is, now you're expected to always be in connection mode. In legal, junior attorneys and paralegals used to grind through mountains of documents. Now AI scans them, tags them, summarizes them, flags key points. The juniors review, correct, refine. The hierarchy doesn't vanish, but the path through it changes. In marketing, copywriters see AI draft headlines, body text, email sequences, add variations. Their job becomes, decide what's usable, what's off-brand, what needs a human rewrite, and how to guide the system better. In human resources, AI screens resumes, scores candidates, schedules interviews, even drafts rejection emails. HR professionals spend more time in later stage conversations, assessing fit, managing conflict, shaping culture. In each of these cases, the story is similar: AI takes the first pass. The human takes the final responsibility. That can feel like empowerment. It can also feel like being a permanent editor of a machine that never sleeps. As AI takes over more tasks, something subtle happens to the definition of skill. For years, we've prized skills like speed, accuracy, memory, pattern recognition, information recall, basic analysis. Now, machines are incredibly good at those, or at least, good enough. So the skills that start to matter more are judgment, taste, empathy, negotiation, creativity, leadership, storytelling, strategic thinking, problem framing, not just problem solving. But here's the tension: most people weren't trained for those. They were trained to follow procedures, hit targets, memorize systems, master tools, apply known methods. Now they're being nudged into roles that demand a more fluid, less defined set of abilities. Elena didn't sign up to be a strategist. She signed up to be really good at doing things. And suddenly, the world is telling her, we've got the doing part covered. Now we need you to think, empathize, connect, decide. It's a promotion in theory. In practice, it can feel like being shoved onto a stage you weren't prepared to stand on. As AI spread, something else happened inside organizations: a divide emerged. On one side, you had early adopters, the people who jumped on every new tool. They customized prompts. They experimented with workflows. They bragged about how much time they were saving. On the other side, you had holdouts, the people who stuck to what they knew. They didn't trust the outputs. They were uncomfortable with the idea of relying on a system they didn't fully understand. They worried that needing AI meant they weren't good enough on their own. And then there was a third group, the quiet majority, the people who would use AI if it was built in and unavoidable, but wouldn't go out of their way to seek it out. This divide isn't just about tools. It's about identity. Early adopters often see themselves as modern, adaptable, forward-thinking. Holdouts often see themselves as careful, principled, or protective of craft. The quiet majority just wants to get through their day without drowning. Managers started noticing a pattern: the people who embraced AI seemed more productive, at least on paper. They responded faster, shipped more, produced more drafts, hit more metrics. The danger is obvious: if you're not careful, a user can become a proxy for high performer, even if what's really being measured is comfort with tools, not actual value created. This is one of the fault lines that will define the next decade of work. There's another layer to this story: control. As more of the work gets routed through AI systems, whoever configures those systems gains quiet power. Who sets the prompts? Who decides what the system optimizes for? Who chooses which metrics matter? Who approves or rejects AI adoption in specific workflows? Suddenly, product managers, data scientists, IT teams, and external vendors have influence over how entire departments function. Workers like Elena become users of systems they didn't design and don't control. If the AI suggests a certain reply, a certain priority, a certain classification, that shapes behavior. Even if everyone insists, the human is ultimately in charge, the reality is, the options the human sees are pre-filtered. This is the subtle power shift of AI at work, from the people doing the work to the people designing the systems that structure the work. On the surface, AI looks like it makes everything easier. Fewer repetitive tasks. Less manual labor. More assistance. But underneath, there's a cost we don't talk about enough: cognitive strain. When AI is involved, the human's job becomes, interpret suggestions. Check for errors. Catch edge cases. Override when needed. Guess when to trust and when to doubt. That's mentally demanding. It's like constantly proofreading a machine that writes very fast, very confidently, and is usually right. But sometimes very wrong in ways that are hard to spot. Now at the emotional layer, if you accept the AI's suggestion and it fails, people blame you. If you reject the AI's suggestion and your alternative fails, people also blame you. If you lean on AI too much, you worry someone will think you're lazy. If you don't use it enough, you worry someone will think you're outdated. That's a lot of pressure. The promise of AI is, we'll do the heavy lifting. The reality often feels more like, we'll move the heavy lifting from your hands to your head. By the time we reach the end of 2026, the quiet revolution is no longer deniable. AI isn't some futuristic thing on the horizon. It's woven into how we schedule, how we write, how we analyze, how we hire, how we manage, how we decide. It touches almost every role, even if unevenly. Some jobs are mostly untouched, for now. Others feel like they've been flipped upside down. Some workers feel more powerful than ever. Others feel more replaceable than ever. Some leaders see AI as their greatest opportunity. Others see it as their greatest risk. But whether we feel ready or not, willing or not, enthusiastic or not, the shift is here. The question is no longer, will AI change work? The question is, how do we, as humans, respond to the work that AI has already changed? Because this isn't just a story about software. It's a story about identity, power, fear, opportunity, and the future of what it means to spend your life working. And that's where this series is headed. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Part 1 of the automation age was all about seeing the shift, the quiet, invisible ways AI has already woven itself into our daily work. And now that you've seen it, you can't unsee it. But this is just the beginning. In Part 2, we're going deeper. We're talking about the displacement wave, the jobs at risk, the jobs being rewritten, and the entirely new roles emerging in the shadow of automation. It's powerful, it's emotional, and it's one of the most important conversations we'll have in this entire series. If today's episode opened your eyes, make sure you stay connected. Follow the show, share this episode with someone who needs to hear it, and jump into the comments to tell me what resonated with you. Your voice shapes where we go next. This is the Daily Economy 24/7, and the automation age has only just begun.